The other thing is pet peeve is people not generating revenue quick enough. Everyone's like, oh, we got to have all these things, and then we can end up going out there and making money. I'm like, well, have you tried selling it? Have you tried asking people to pay for it? Go and collect some money. Someone's probably willing to.
How do you think about the balance? Like, I think a lot of founders struggle with, like, there's these topics that we can find on platforms like Exploding Topics, Twemex, Taplio, Social Blade, let's say, that we know have viral potential that people are searching for and that they really care about. On the other side of things, from our own customers, we're hearing what matters to them, what their problems are, and that more sort of like high purchase intent, high problem intent type keywords and topics. How do you kind of balance that? Or how do you think about that balance between, these more like growth and trending subjects, and then more of the subjects that are the real problems that your customers having, and kind of how do you think about that as you're building your content strategy?
So marketing, you have top of funnel, stuff that really just gets eyeballs. And you have middle of funnel, people are maybe doing research and they're interested in products in your space. And then you have bottom of funnel, people are just like ready to make that transaction like you were talking about. Your goal should be to create content for all three of those buckets. You can do a 1/3, 1/3, 1/3 split and create content that resonates with everyone. That way you're continually building a new audience, you're nurturing that audience, and then you're converting that audience. But you need all three, because the top of funnel just allows you to get more and more people.
No, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, you need that kind of top of funnel stuff just to kind of widen the funnel and get the growth going and that organic traction. And then, kind of push them through with more intent-based keywords and topics and kind of strike that balance. I'm curious, like, there's a lot of founders I work with, creators I work with, they've gotten their, email list, their newsletter to, around that like 50,000 subscriber range. But they have ambitious goals of getting to, 500K, a million, like folks like James Clear, The Hustle, and what Morning Brew's done. They're typically using platforms like Beehive or ConvertKit, and, they've gotten to a good stage, but they're looking to kind of now bring it to the stratosphere. I'm curious, like, how do you think about growing a newsletter from that 50K range to the million, like to a million people?
The easiest way is give away free tools. When you give away free tools, and we talked about software earlier, you can get people to opt in to continually use your free tools, which will just cause your list size to explode. That's what we do. That's how our list size is over 1 million.
Right. Yeah, no, I saw over the weekend you were saying that your list size is growing at something like 286,000 people a month, I believe, if I saw that right. So yeah, the free tool side is definitely one big unlock. I'm curious, so that's definitely one. Is there anything else that founders can be thinking about in terms of growing their lists, or any lower weight strategies? Then obviously building out a tool can take some time.
Opt-ins, free ebooks, free guides, driving paid traffic to a blog. But we haven't found really any of the other strategies to be anywhere near as effective as just giving away free tools. Probably not the answer that most people want to hear, but it's the truth.
Right. And so when you think about that, like kind of like a free tool to grow an email list, like, does it need to be some big robust tool from your standpoint? Or are there any sort of like more sort of like, how do you think about kind of building maybe a lean tool then to grow a subscriber list?
Sure. So the easiest way is you go to codecanyon.net. There's tools in almost every space. You can white label them. You can buy it for probably less than $50, usually $10, $20, $30. Pop those on your site and go from there. That's where I would say is a huge opportunity for most people. That way you can get something that has a little bit more than the bare minimum of features. That way it's more than a minimal viable product, but you don't have to spend that much time building it at all.
Yeah. Switching gears here to kind of the mentor side of things, like over the course of my career, I'd say like 80% of my success has been learning from people that are way smarter than me, understanding their systems, their approaches to hiring, what mistakes they made, and then translating those learnings to my current businesses to take them from where they are to where I'm looking to go, and avoid a lot of the pitfalls and mistakes that they've kind of taught me to avoid. I'm curious, from where you're at right now, getting to this kind of $100 million per year range to $1 billion and being the most dominant digital marketing advertiser in the world. I'm curious, what are some mentors that you're surrounding yourself with right now, and how do you look at kind of building out your right kind of like personal board of advisors to take you from where you are to where you're looking to go?
Yeah, so I don't look at mentorship as like, how can I surround myself with amazing people? That would be great, but sometimes it's hard to do because we all live in different places. Like, I think right now you're in Medellin?
Yep.
Yeah. And it's hard to do that when you're traveling. You may not speak the language. You may not know a ton of people. I'm in Las Vegas, still building my network here. What I love doing is going to conferences because you can meet people in all parts of the world, just like how we met at a conference, actually 2 conferences now. And the other thing I love doing is just learning from YouTube videos. It's amazing on how much you can learn by just watching other people's videos and getting the knowledge without actually knowing them. And that's provided a ton of mentorship for me over the years.
And in terms of like, your own like productivity, your own happiness, curious, like, are there any kind of core purchases when you look back over the last like year or two that really like helped you in a big way that you're like, damn, that was a great purchase. That's something that like I'm grateful for.
I can't really think of like a purchase that's really changed my life. Having a driver has helped a lot. I can focus more on just work.
Yep.
I hate purchasing homes. That's probably one of the bigger mistakes I've made. I would not recommend homes. I'd rather just use the cash to grow a business. To each their own, though. But I would probably say drivers really helped streamline life, make it more efficient. I can work even when I'm in the car. So that's been cool.
Yeah, the driver side of things is definitely on the goals list. I'm curious, why do you think kind of buying a home has been a waste? I hear this from a lot of people actually that, it was a big dream of theirs. Founders had a big exit, goes and finally invests in his dream home. And later, like a year or two after, it's like, damn, like I should have just kept Airbnb, traveling the world. Like, I don't know, this thing's just become a nuisance. Like, explain that to me. Like, why, what's your thinking there?
Homes always have problems, leaky roofs, gardens, issues, maintenance. Even if it's a new home, they still have problems. I've had new homes built with leaky roofs. If you just take that money, like everyone's like, oh, my home's building all this equity, I'm making all this money, you got a mortgage. Well, if you just take the mortgage and you give it to rent, and you take your 20% down and you invest it in business, I found that if you're good at what you do, and I recommend people bet on themselves, you typically will come ahead more than if you bought that home. Because it's not like the home's going to appreciate like crazy in value.
Yeah. We're both believers in this kind of concept of done is better than perfect. I see a lot of founders, they get caught up in sort of overanalyzing things, getting lost in perfectionism, and ends up just kind of making them feel stuck. Everything gets delayed. And versus, a focus on speed and getting things out there, they're just kind of falling behind. I'm curious, as you're kind of building companies, how do you think about that balance between building something that's quality and building things for speed? How do you kind of foster that on your team?
So everyone's a little bit different. I optimize for speed. I'm all about the quick and dirty. And if something's working, then work on making it great and amazing and perfect. But I'm all about the quick and dirty and just getting stuff out there. I don't need it perfect. I'm okay with things not being perfect. I just want the results. And if it's, all taped together and tied up with some shoestring and some glue to make it work, but it's providing the results, cool. Then I'll go make it perfect and remove the tape and the shoestrings and the glue and make it amazing and people love it. But I want to make sure it's producing the results first.
Yeah, no, that's one of my biggest pet peeves is when I'm talking with someone and they've got an amazing thing and they keep on saying they're going to launch it on Monday. But then Tuesday comes along and they're just like, oh, I just needed to make this a little better. Don't feel quite comfortable yet. But I'm looking at the product. I'm like, damn, this thing's amazing already. Like, ship this thing.
Yeah.
I'm curious, like any other kind of pet peeves on your side when it comes to the marketing space and building a business that you constantly are seeing and you're like, damn, like, why are we doing that?
The other thing is pet peeve is people not generating revenue quick enough. Everyone's like, oh, we got to have all these things. And then we can end up going out there and making it. I'm like, well, have you tried selling it? Have you tried asking people to pay for it? Go and collect some money. Someone's probably willing to, and get feedback and then go adjust from there. I think people wait way too long before they try to collect revenue.
Yeah, no, I see that all the time too. And I see one of the biggest misconceptions there is that too early on founders think that, oh, I need to hire a head of sales and I need to build a sales team. When it's like, no, you need to get out there and start selling this thing yourself, getting real market feedback, talking to real customers, and then implementing their feedback on the product and just getting the deal across the finish line. I'm curious, as you're kind of building out companies, how do you see that balance between the founder selling the product and at what point does it make sense to then start building out a team?
Once you figure out the process, if you're not willing to sell it, how can you go hire someone and tell them, hey, this is how you do it, when you've never done it yourself? You need to go there, sell it, experience the ups and the downs and the objections, and figure out what processes and frameworks you need to use to make this repeatable, and then go hire someone and then go train them.
And one thing more of a personal side, currently building out founderwest.com, about to launch a new Webflow blog there, be the de facto spot for founders to find systems to scale their businesses to $5 million plus. How do you kind of think about the keyword research around a subject like that in building out like a good, solid organic traffic infrastructure for a website?
Yeah, so I look at the keyword infrastructure as you need to do your keyword research. You can use tools like Ubersuggest to do that or Answer the Public. And you can even put in your competitor URLs and it shows you all their popular pages, all their popular keywords that each page ranks for. And what you want to do is look at the keywords that have a high CPC and volume. High CPC means someone's willing to spend a lot of money for that keyword from an ad perspective. So if a keyword has high volume and a high CPC, it usually means it's a money keyword. It's a keyword that can drive revenue. And then you can look at your competitor sites using Ubersuggest, see what pages and content they're creating around those keywords. And then you can map out, all right, if I want to get a lot of traffic, what are the pages that I need to create, the topics, and what keywords do I need to include in each of those pages? And Ubersuggest will show you all that for free.
Damn, you make it sound so easy. So yeah, Ubersuggest, Answer the Public. I'm curious, are there any other marketing tools you started using recently that you're like, damn, this is a hidden gem? I wish I had known about this sooner.
Midjourney, although it may not be considered a marketing tool. Do you consider marketing creative tool? I don't know what it's considered.
I guess just like, yeah, your intent in using it. Yeah, if you're looking to use it for marketing creative ads and such, then yeah, it's a marketing tool. And I'm curious, like on your personal side, you're a guy that's like traveling a lot, you're exploring the world. I'm very similar. I came to a point kind of 8 years ago where I knew I really wanted to travel, like explore the world. And I'd always seen life as this trade-off. I either build a successful business in one place, or I travel and live my dreams. And there came a point where I just kind of had to look myself in the mirror and go like, well, why not both? Why not travel the world, live my life, explore new cultures, meet new people, live the life of my dreams, and form my business, my work, my career around what makes me passionate? How do you kind of think about that? You're obviously traveling the world. You have 2 kids. You got a home base in Vegas. You got another home in Beverly Hills. Like, how do you kind of balance like the love of travel and exploring new places and meeting new people and build your business around that?
Well, I travel. I'm on the road for, call it 35 weeks out of the year. So for me, I already had to travel for work. So I get to experience new things, meet new people, see new cultures. And I think it's great. Like, you're heading to Japan, if I'm not mistaken, in a few weeks, right?
Yep.
So it's like, it's cool. You're in Colombia right now. You're going to be in Japan in a few weeks. It's great. Experience new things, new food, new culture. I don't understand why people can't do both. It does get harder when you have kids and they're in school, but you can also homeschool kids and travel the world. There's a guy named Jermaine Griggs. I don't know if he still does it, but he did that for a while. That was a really cool concept. I think kids can get amazing education doing that versus just being stuck in a classroom.
And as you're traveling, like, is there something that's kind of stood out as, I know over the years from traveling, as I've kind of experienced new cultures, experienced new things, one of my big learnings has been like, people are great all over the place, and the more you just kind of put good energy out there into the world, the more it kind of like comes back, and people genuinely, they want to help you. It doesn't matter what culture you're in, you give to people, you help people out. Reciprocity is a universal language. I'm curious, amongst your travels, like, are there any kind of core learnings that really stand out as insights you've gleaned that have kind of maybe changed your philosophy on life?
The big thing that has changed my philosophy in life that I learned from traveling is there's a lot of basic necessity type of businesses out there that just make a ton of money. Being raised in California, I thought, oh, tech is where everything is, Silicon Valley. And I'm not trying to knock Silicon Valley. There's a lot of innovation there. But we tend to forget there's a lot of big businesses in the basics. People need rice. I was reading an article a few weeks ago. There's a shortage of rice. You know how much money there is just selling rice? Or how much money there is removing dirt? One of my buddies has a dirt moving company, and it just moves it. People do construction. What do you do with that dirt? Or what do people do with the garbage? What do people do with, HVAC, like heating and air conditioning? All these homes, in some places really cold, some places really hot. We forget how much money there is in basic necessity type of businesses. And traveling has really opened my eyes to it, because you meet a lot of entrepreneurs who are really well off, and most of them, their businesses are in basic necessities, and it's not like something cool. Like, I created a Facebook, and sure, these guys aren't as rich as Mark Zuckerberg, but they've done really well just doing basic, boring, old school businesses that we all take for granted.
Yeah, no, I see that all the time too. We're always looking for that, like that next shiny toy, that cool tool that, all our friends are going to be impressed with, that we invented this thing. And then as you're traveling around, you're at different masterminds, different conferences, you just see these people that are just absolutely killing it off the most unsexy, just boring, basic ideas. But yeah, they're necessities that people use in everyday lives. And, they're what kind of really can generate some serious market value and serve a ton of people. So I'm curious, like on your side too, I talk to a lot of founders all the time. I feel like 80% of the battle sometimes is you're building a business. It's not the business itself. Oftentimes as a founder, it's just your own mindset, your own sort of like mental health, mental fitness. You're someone that's working like 70, 80 hours a week, which for a lot of people is like a marathon. A lot of the founders I speak with, sometimes they feel stuck. They feel overwhelmed, depressed, anxious. Many people are running a business that's running them into the grounds. I'm curious, like, as you've been building your business, how do you kind of, when I see you, whether it's like at the conferences we've been at or online, you're always someone that I think has like a really infectious, playful energy. You light up the room. You can tell that you're just genuinely having fun. You view work as play. And I feel like you bring almost like an inner child kind of energy to the conversations that you have, the relationships around you. And someone that really stands out to me as like, you're just here to help people. You're just here to have some fun. And you seem to have this very light, energetic approach to building companies. I'm curious your advice to those founders that maybe are finding that they're in a bit of a lull, they're taking things too seriously, and how do they kind of lighten it up a little bit?
Love what you're doing. If you love what you're doing, you typically will have a much more playful attitude, and also take breaks every once in a while. And whether it's go play at a park with your children or go play a game of basketball with your friends, if you do things that you genuinely enjoy, you're just going to be in a better mood, especially when you work. And if you love what you're doing while you work, it also helps you be in a better mood.
I'm curious, like I know a lot of founders that, they think about either buying something when they hit a certain milestone or maybe like taking some awesome adventure when they hit some sort of big goal. I'm kind of currently getting a bunch of my business on autopilot, getting a bunch of systems offloaded, bringing on a couple more operations people, and then, piecing off to Japan to go on a big adventure. And putting myself in a really uncomfortable time zone so that the business just has to kind of run on autopilot in the new ways I'm kind of automating. I'm curious, like, how do you kind of think about, rewarding yourself for, things well done?
Yeah, I haven't done the Japan thing, a different time zone thing. Technically, I have, but I have CEOs and stuff who run the business, so I don't really have that issue. But from a reward perspective, I used to try to buy things like I have Patek Philippe's, like the watches. Don't really wear any of them. Bought cars, bought a Maybach a long time ago. Just sold it during COVID. Bought the new Maybach, I think, last February when a new model came out. But I don't really buy much. And the new Maybach, it wasn't like a reward at that point. I was just used to it. And I was like, a new one's out. I don't have one. Want to drive her again. Everyone's going out and about. And got another car and got a driver again. But the rewarding like the watches and stuff like that doesn't really make me happy anymore. Giving and helping other people out, that's helped out a lot. That's put me in a really good mood. Seeing, other people have a smile on their face because you helped them, that's been one of the biggest rewards making money as an entrepreneur for me. My wife, focuses 100% of her time to help others. I think that's great. I'm not as amazing of a person as my wife. So I focus on making money and she spends the time giving it away, and we make a great combo. But that really makes me happy to see other people come up in life because our checks help. And we don't really make that much of an impact compared to like a Elon Musk or Bill Gates or any of those guys who can really donate money, but we try to do whatever's in our means.
Is there like a moment in your life that you feel like your mindset sort of shifted around that, where you're like, I feel like this next watch or this car is going to bring me a level of happiness, and then you maybe had bought that thing and you're like, no, you know what, like my mindset's now shifted on this actually maybe didn't bring me any more happiness, it just brought me more problems?
Yes, not really problems, but it shifted for me the moment I started buying more watches, and I'd be happy for a few days. Like, okay, what's next? Now, like if I buy a car, it's like, whatever, I got a car, I don't even care. I got a legit car back from my dad. We used to have a Honda Odyssey. My dad took it for a few months, gave it back to us because we needed it for our kids. And like, I love driving that thing. That's awesome and amazing. So when I'm not getting driven around, and when I get driven around, by the way, like we have a Lincoln Navigator that our driver also drives, like as a family car. Even if he's driving me in the Lincoln Navigator, and it's just him and me, I sit in the front seat so we can converse and stuff like that. And I'm like, oh, how's your kids and wife? And he'll tell me stories. But yeah, it's just, I don't know. And all this materialistic stuff doesn't make me happy. Even our house in Beverly Hills, my wife and I are debating just getting rid of it. Had it for a year and a half and we haven't spent any time in it. It's like, might as well get rid of it and donate the money or use it for something else. I don't want to buy another home. I'd rather just donate the money.
Love it. Well, this has been a lot of fun, and I appreciate all the insights over the weekend and here today on the show. Appreciate all you're doing to give back to the community and sharing all the knowledge you've done to build an incredible business, incredible brand. And so I want to thank you for taking the time today, and excited to following your journey and seeing you build up the most valuable digital marketing agency in the world.
I'm going to try. Thanks for having me.